Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Dos Mocos News through Dos Mocos Podcast. On today's breaking news, there has been a bomb threat at the Jewish Center here in Atlanta, Georgia. There is also later on a woman who gave a fake actor $10,000 from who she thought was somebody from Stranger Things. We also have the Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg fight. Could it be canceled? We'll see. Later on, we also hear about Tori Kelly and her news about her still touring after having blood clots. And after that, finally, we hear about the Cincinnati Bengals and one of their stars facing a scandal with a one night stand. All of that on today with Dos Mocos News through Dos Mocos Podcast. A bomb threat at the Jewish Center here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is unfortunate that these things are still going on, but it has unfortunately again happened today. Earlier today in Atlanta, there was a bomb threat at the Jewish Center causing a major road blockage in Midtown Atlanta. Here is a clip from Channel 3 News in Atlanta showing more about what is going on.
We're going to begin right now with that breaking news in Midtown Atlanta. That's where the Bremen Jewish History Museum is under evacuation. This is a live view right now from News Chopper 2 high above. Atlanta police are investigating a threat at the building. We have a map that shows you exactly where this is happening. It's on Spring Street, just east of the downtown connector. Atlanta police shut down that area of Spring Street between 19th and 17th Streets. A view now live from the ground. You can see what is happening there. We've seen multiple emergency vehicles, as you see also many APD officers there. We're reaching out to Atlanta police right now, and we'll bring you new information about this just as soon as we get it.
It is still very unfortunate that people are resulting in bomb threats. We are not currently sure what the bomb threat is exactly about, but there will be more on that later through Dos Mocos News and Dos Mocos Podcast. And now we're here talking about the woman who sent $10,000 to a fake actor. Stranger Things catfish. A woman sent $10K to a fake actor. That wasn't Billy. A woman's life turned upside down when she sent a bunch of money to one of the stars from Stranger Things and even divorced her husband because the actor told her to. Michaela, a single mom from Kentucky, claims she was catfished and scammed out of $10,000 by someone who claimed to be Darce Montgomery, known for playing the heartthrob turned villain Billy Hargrove in the Netflix series Stranger Things. She shared her wild experience on the YouTube channel Catfished, saying the two met on an online forum and chatted for a year before he asked her to be his girlfriend. For reference, Michaela was still married, but claimed her relationship with her husband was toxic. By the way, the real Darce has been dating model Liv Pollock since 2017. But that bit of cruel info didn't seem to stop Michaela from thinking this was legit. He told her to choose between her husband and him. And shockingly enough, she ditched her husband. He also told her he couldn't access any of his bank accounts, saying they were all controlled by Liv, which led her to sending the $10,000 of gift cards, crypto, and cash through payment apps over time. For those unaware, this type of thing is often referred to as a romance scam. Finding someone emotionally vulnerable and gaining their trust, getting them to send money through unconventional ways like gift cards, often to hide a paper trail. It is very sad and unfortunate that this happened to this lady, but you can't sit here and believe that actual stars or celebrities are going to want to break up your relationship, ask you to be their girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and then send cash. It doesn't work like that. And second of all, I highly doubt that this person is allowing their girlfriend, not wife, but girlfriend, to hold over all of his financials from his earnings of all of his work and work on Stranger Things and whatever he has done in the past. With that being said, I don't think you would have to be a total maniac to think that somebody would be like this. People are scammed like this all the time with gift cards and other things like that. But, she fell for it. Does she get what she deserved? No. Should she have divorced her husband? I don't know. Those cards seem to have been laid in the past. Apparently, her husband was toxic to her. But here's a little bit more of that story. Here's a video clip from the YouTube channel, and we'll let you guys decide.
I am obsessed with Stranger Things. But the thing is, when I tallied it all up, it was $10,000-ish. I told my ex-husband, I said, listen, I said, it's not working out. I said, you're not letting me be me. You're not letting me be free. I said, I think you need to leave. So he left. Within 2 months, he was gone.
What's up, Seekers? Welcome back to another episode of Scamfish presented by socialcatfish.com. Why does this famous guy need money from you, Michaela?
See, I wondered that too. Until he starts doing things that make me believe that he is who he is.
On today's episode, we speak to Michaela about her online relationship with the actor Dacre Montgomery, aka Billy from Stranger Things. The two met on a forum over a year ago, but have never met in person. She is now having doubts about everything after funding Dacre's life for over a year. Dacre claimed he needed money until he broke up with his girlfriend, and this was the only way he would be able to finally leave her to be with Michaela. Let's jump into it and see if we can help her out. Real quick, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your comment and like could help stop someone from being scammed. Let's get into it.
My name is Kayla. Hi, Social Catfish. I'm an artist. I work in film and I do a lot of editing. I do a lot of production and stuff like that. I also act as a hobby, so that's pretty fun. So I'm on both sides of the camera there. I am a single mom from Kentucky. I have a daughter who's about to turn 7. I have been a single parent pretty much since she's been born. I'm separated from my husband. He's estranged, I guess you could put it that way. He lives over 500 miles away. We separated because he was very toxic.
Michaela has always been an artistic person. During her marriage, she felt her husband was limiting her creativity, so she decided to express her art online.
It was on a forum. It was on an artist forum.
She joined a forum where she could meet other creative people, and that's when it all began.
Anyone who has anything to do with art could be in it. This guy messaged me. He was under a different username. Me and him get to kind of talking, and then he admits that he is an actor, like a well-known actor. And of course, here I am thinking, oh, well, he's going to say he's Johnny Depp or something. He tells me that he's Dacre Montgomery. That's like one of my favorite actors. And me and him just really hit it off. But of course, I'm suspicious from the get-go until he starts doing things that make me believe that he is who he is.
Upon receiving an email from Michaela, we arranged a call with her to delve deeper into the matter and gather additional information. We approached this interview like any other case. Our primary objective was to understand the underlying reason driving Michaela to think that this was the real Dacre.
I am obsessed with Stranger Things. Billy is just this bully. He kind of comes in, tries to dominate, which is totally unlike his actual personality.
What's the reason that you guys aren't able to meet face to face?
Well, see, okay, that's one thing that we actually bonded over. And basically, through the relationship, he was venting to me after a few months about his partner, saying she's very controlling of him. He doesn't get to do the things he wants to do. You know, she's always there. She's always got to supervise. And I kind of empathize with that because my ex-husband was that way. At about a year after we kind of admitted feelings for each other, he said, you know, there's nothing like, you know, the feeling of love when it's reciprocated. And I said, what? And he said, I'm indirectly asking you out. And I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of stupid about this. I was like, what do you mean asking me out? And he said, I want you to be my girlfriend. And he was just like, but you got to keep it quiet. He said, because, you know, I'm still with Liv. And he was like, but I'm not technically with her. He said they had broken up.
Did he ever post anything that they were broken up at that time, or?
There were things I noticed. Basically, at the time that he said that they had broken up, he said they've been broken up for about 6 months. When I went back into his past history, like on his Instagram and things, the romantic sort of, you know, flirty messages that they would send to each other, like, you know, post about each other, had stopped within that time period. They weren't doing Valentine's Day posts. They weren't doing birthday posts. He wasn't posting about her. She wasn't posting about him. The only thing that I have seen in the last 2 years of those two posting about each other recently was a thing where she was posting about their 5-year anniversary.
A year of not talking to somebody on the phone is very long time, Michaela.
That is one thing that was a huge red flag to me, but at the same time, I kind of understood because he said where she was so controlling of him and he couldn't get away from her, like she's glued at his hip. He wasn't able to call. He wasn't able to, you know, video chat and stuff like that.
After communicating with him for months, Michaela had to make a choice. It was either her husband or Dacre. He told her this was the only way they could truly be together.
Because he gave me the ultimatum after we had been together for a little while. He gave me an ultimatum. He said, listen, he said, it's either your husband, he said, or it's me. And I said, look, there's no competition. I said, you treat me better. So I told my ex-husband, I said, listen, I said, it's not working out. I said, you're not letting me be me. You're not letting me be free. I said, I think you need to leave. So he left. Within 2 months, he was gone. You know, my ex-husband is out of the house. I said, I'm separated from him. I said, there's no one here except for me and, you know, my daughter, Rain. I said, it's just us. I said, now it's your turn. I was like, if you're going to be with me, I said, you have to make efforts. I said, even if those efforts are just getting, you know, your own stuff away from her.
Dacre had agreed to leave his girlfriend to be with Michaela, but we wanted to know what exactly was making her think that this whole thing was real.
When Stranger Things season 4 came out, the day before it came out, he texted me and he said, hey, you need to watch episode 4. And he said, if you don't watch anything else, watch episode 4. And when it came out the next day, and he showed up in that episode. And I was like, well, who else would know that? And he would send me poems, which I am a poem reader. I've actually got his book here. And the poems that he was sending me are things that would go along with things like what his style of writing. And so that's another thing that kind of confused me.
Why does this famous guy need money from you, Michaela?
See, I wondered that too. And then he explained it. He said, well, he said, if I try to use my bank account, she's over it. He said, it's, you know, joint. He said, so she keeps all the stuff. And he said, so I would have to ask her all the time. And I understood that point too, because my ex was very controlling over our money. Well, then it kind of went on for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden he came back. He said, hey, he said, would I be able to ask you to help me here and there if I decided to, you know, separate from her? And I said, well, I can't help much. I said, but I can help a little bit here and there. Before I knew it, it was turning into $100 and $200 gift cards. But the thing is, when I tallied it all up, it was $10,000-ish.
Dacre promised Michaela he would pay all of the money she sent to him. He wanted to disconnect from his girlfriend, Liv, and claimed he needed to open up another bank account without her knowing until the relationship completely ended. Michaela was essentially funding Dacre's lifestyle for a year. He would even send her money in the form of gift cards and checks.
Basically, he would get the gift cards like how I used to do. Like, I would get gifted gift cards and stuff all the time, and I would sell them for less than what they were worth, and I would, pocket the money. Well, that's kind of what he was doing. He said that he was going to start doing that so he could have a little bit of money for himself, like some pocket change, and he would, give them, and he would get money from them, and then he would pocket them. Like if it was like a $200 gift card, he'd sell it for like $100, and then he would have $100 in his pocket. And when I done that, he wouldn't ask for money for another little while. So I was like, okay, if this is working, it's working for him, we'll just keep on doing that.
Michaela would deposit everything into her bank account and send it to Dacre through Bitcoin.
And now you understand why I had to contact you guys, because I'm like, it's not the typical scam.
One would ask, what is a typical scam? Sure, she was not asked from a Nigerian prince to send her money because all of his bank accounts were frozen and he needed streaming or Netflix or, gaming or PS2 or Xbox gift cards or Starbucks gift cards or whatever. But you once you have to understand that you are not in the celebrity limelight and you don't know the person and they don't know you, even if you feel that that person is real, and then they start asking you for money, like thousands and thousands of dollars, you have to realize right away it is a scam. You have to be smarter. You can't live in this dreamlike fantasy where you feel that Billy, this guy, or Dacre Montgomery, I screwed up his name earlier. I called him Darce. That's due to my dyslexia. But Dacre Montgomery, you have to believe that he's not going to leave his Hollywood lifestyle or his current girlfriend for someone, and especially not ask for money when you clearly know that that's not going to be the case. There are people that sure they lose their money or they entrust people to their bank accounts, but I'm sure he has managers and accountants do that for him. And nowadays, there's plenty to protect him from being scammed or having somebody overthrow or overtake his bank accounts. You just got to be careful out there, guys. People are always trying to scam you in every type of way, in every type of facet. But for this lady to be in a quote unquote relationship with this guy for over a year and divorcing her husband partially because of it, sending him $10,000 in gift cards and cash over the years, it's just crazy. It's crazy. There's a saying that says, if you know me well enough, text me. If you don't know me at all, or if you can't if you know me well enough, text me. And if you can't text me, you don't know me well enough at all. And I believe in that. End of the story is just don't fall for scammers. Anyways, on to our next topic with Dos Mocos News, the Dos Mocos podcast. In the latest story with the Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight, Mark Zuckerberg is refusing to fight at a coliseum. Elon Musk had it all set up, and now Mark is backing down. Is he afraid? Who knows? Will he bleed lizard blood? Again, who knows? But will this fight ever happen? Here is more with that at Dos Mocos News. Alien Boy versus Spaceman. Who's going to win the fight? Will they fight? In the latest TMZ article through their TMZ Sports News section, Elon Musk, Zuck refused to fight at Coliseum. Elon Musk says he isn't the one holding up the battle of the billionaires with Mark Zuckerberg, claiming Tuesday the Meta honcho is actually the one who turned down a potential fight at Italy's Coliseum. The Tesla X took to X just minutes ago to explain his side of the situation, saying after the two men had initially agreed to fight, Rome offered up one of the seven wonders of the world for the guys to scrap in. But according to Elon, Zuck just flat out didn't want to do it. Zuck declined, Musk said empathetically. That's when he said he offered to fight in Zuckerberg's backyard octagon instead. And in quotes, Elon says, I suggested his home as a safe space, Musk said. Tragically, he was traveling. Zuck, meanwhile, has offered up a completely different version of the situation, saying on Threads earlier this week that he was moving on from the battle because he didn't believe Musk was serious at all about the fight. I think he was serious about the fight, to be honest. But in quotes again, it says, Mark Zuckerberg, it says, I offered a real date, the 39-year-old said. Dana White offered to make this a legit competition for charity. Elon won't confirm a date, then says he needs surgery, and now asks to do a practice round in my backyard instead. It seems what could be next for Zuckerberg now is a fight in the UFC, as he's appeared to indicate he wants a match with a real MMA fighter, something White seems more than willing to put on. And Mark Zuckerberg signs now point to MMA match with UFC fighter. Mark Zuckerberg is hell-bent on taking a fight to the UFC, not with Elon Musk, but possibly with an actual UFC fighter. And now Dana White is more than insinuating it could actually go down. As you know, Zuck's moved on from a fight with Elon, saying last Friday, I'll share details on my next fight when I'm ready. So he's got some plan for his next fight. He went on to say, in quote, I want to do it in a way that puts a spotlight on the elite athletes at the top of their game, adding, you do it by working with professional or organizations like the UFC or one, I guess is a fight league, to pull this off well. Zuck said Monday, I'm going to focus on competing with people who take the sport seriously. So who are the elite athletes and people who take the sport seriously? It seems unlikely there's another Elon out there, billionaire versus billionaire. And it doesn't make a lot of sense Zuck would involve the UFC for some amateur fight with a rando. We know Zuck's been in communication with the UFC president Dana White for well over a month and probably a lot longer. And Dana has 500 fighters on his roster who would love this kind of attention, fighting Mike Zuckerberg. Now, there's no way Zuck would fight a UFC vet, but what about a fighter who just joined the organization? TMZ had contacted Dana with their connect the dots theory, and here's what he told them. End quote, I have said since day one, Mark is a very serious guy. He loves the sport and is training hard. I believe he is serious about fighting in the UFC. Notice Dana said, end quote, fighting in the UFC, that more than suggests he'd be fighting someone on the inside, not the outside. So it seems to me that Mark wants to fight, uh, but more than likely fight somebody that is more established in the UFC universe. Now, do I think Elon is making up excuses? I don't think so. Do I think Mark is afraid of Elon? In some ways, yes. I mean, I seriously hope that the fight happens because it would be a life turning event for all people in this day and age. It would be the number one fight watched on the UFC. It would be a huge outcome for this charity. A lot of people would be buying the pay-per-views and buying tickets to this fight, and especially if they hold it in a huge coliseum in Italy, millions and millions and millions and millions, if not close to $1 billion, would go to a charity because of all the ticket sales, all the pay-per-view sales, etc. If Mark wants to fight somebody, heck, I'll fight him. I wouldn't mind fighting him. I personally don't agree with the guy on certain standards that Facebook sets. And that's why they tried to block our Dos Mocos podcast page, because they didn't feel that some of our videos didn't stick to their guidelines and standards, which to me feels like a collapse of freedom of speech. But, you know, oh well. I'm rooting for Elon if this ever does happen. X gonna give it to you. Now on to the news with the Bengals. And now news from my hometown, Cincinnati. Bengals star Jamar Chase, one night stand is harassing me. Help me judge, he's asking. On an update with Jamar Chase at 6:52 a.m. Pacific time on today at 8:16, August 16th, Jamar Chase's attorneys Jason Lambert and Michael Goldstein released a statement to TMZ Sports on Tuesday, saying earlier today, Mr. Chase um, Mr. Chase filed a restraining order in Los Angeles County in connection with Miss Hunter's ongoing harassment of Mr. Chase and his family since 2021. After exhausting every out-of-court remedy, he was left with no other option. Mr. Chase intends to use all legal options to protect himself and family from this unwarranted harassment. We have no further comment while this matter is pending, said his lawyer. Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase, one of the best young players in the NFL, is seeking court order protection from a woman he claims is harassing him and his mother. Jamar beelined into court Tuesday to file for a temporary restraining order against a woman named Amber Hunter, who he claims he had a one-night stand with. In the docs obtained by TMZ, Jamar claims Amber is behind an unhinged and disturbing pattern of harassment aimed at him and his mother, claiming she started threatening them after he refused to continue the relationship after a single night of romance. Jamar says he hooked up with Amber way back in July of 2021, and she's since tried to damage his brand, reputation, and corporate sponsorships through calculated and ongoing harassment. The NFL All-Pro says Amber mainly harasses him on social media, where she posts false statements about him being a deadbeat dad in order to sick her 18,000 followers on him and his mom. Jamar says they do not have a child together, as Amber claims, and says she posts photos of another person's child to make it seem like they have a kid. Jamar says she refused to subject the kid to a DNA test. What's more, Jamar claims Amber is spinning a web of lies about being a victim of domestic violence. He says no law enforcement agency has found her to be credible. Jamar also says Amber is still ranting about him on social media as recently as this past July, even going so far as to post his and his mother's personal cell phone numbers on Instagram, which he says led to tons of harassing calls and texts. In the docs, Jamar slams Amber for what he says is an ongoing harassment scheme to harm him and negatively impact his NFL career. And he's asking a judge to sign off on a temporary restraining order. Now, with that, unfortunately, a lot of NFL stars and players make the news in these types of headlines, and it's sad to see. And I personally don't know the full story or history between him and Amber, but the thing is stop finding crazy people to be with. Stop being in one night stands. Stop doing stupid things, and stupid things won't happen. I've seen Jamar Chase play, not in person. I would love to, but in last year's season, and he is a very well rounded player. I think he's great. He's a great wide receiver. He's probably in the top 5 in the NFL currently. And just stick to yourself. Do what you need to do. Stay out of the hot water. That's all I can say. And now on to Tori Kelly and her blood clots. Why is she touring? Will she continue to tour? More with Dos Mocos News. And now for a piece of news that hits a little too close to home for me personally. For many of you people who do not know me, and definitely do not know this, in 2017, I had almost died from blood clots and pulmonary embolisms in both my lungs. It was a scary event for me. And now we are hearing about Tori Kelly going on tour after having blood clots. For me, if I hadn't have gone when I did, in 2 days I would have died. This was in 2017. I was working on a Bruce Willis movie called Reprisal in Cincinnati. And I came home one night with blood coming out of my legs, and it was very scary. So to hear this, it kind of makes me nervous for her, but I understand life needs to go on. And here we are, Tori Kelly going on nationwide tour after suffering blood clots. Tori Kelly must be feeling a whole lot better after her major health scare, because she's hitting the road for a nationwide tour in Canada. The Grammy-winning singer announced her plans for the Take Control tour on Instagram Tuesday, writing, "It's been too long." She gave a list of tour dates beginning on September 10th in Toronto, Ontario, before moving on to a number of American cities, including LA and New York City. Fans can DM Tori to snag pre-sale tickets at 9 a.m. today. Others can purchase general admission tickets Thursday through her website. This is great news for Tori, who was hospitalized with serious blood clots last month. Tori was having dinner with friends at a downtown LA restaurant when she passed out and was rushed to the hospital. For a week, Tori was treated for blood clots in her legs and lungs at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center before she was released in late July. Now it seems Tori is back in tip-top shape and ready to perform. So for me, to break away from this little article, for me, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't pass out. I just knew that my legs were very sore. And then when I got home and dressed for bed, I realized that there was blood coming from my pores. So I went to the hospital. I don't know how bad her clots were or how bad her pulmonary embolisms were, but mine seemed very bad, to the point where if I didn't go, like I said, when I did, in 2 days, I would have died. This seems like a very similar case and not anything to joke around about. because probably the same thing could have happened to her. I think it is amazing that she wants to continue doing this tour. I think it's great. Do I think it's too soon? I don't know. I'm not her doctor. And also, male and female bodies are different from each other in certain retrospects. I mean, blood is blood, but I'm a large man. I'm 6'3", very heavy set and muscular, fat, whatever you want to call me. And I don't know how tall she is, but she's definitely not over 6 feet, and seems to be very healthy. There have been other cases before with Zach Wilde who had gotten blood clots, and that was from too much touring. He got them from just sitting on the tour bus, all traveling from state to state, to country, what have you. And that's how a lot of those will form. And luckily for her, I don't know what caused her to pass out at the restaurant, but luckily for her, it did not break off and go into her heart and kill her, which is what was potentially happening to me. So all in all, with all that being said, just be safe out there, guys. Take care of yourself. Your body is your temple, and always monitor your health and what your body is telling you. Your body tells you what it needs. Now, for things like blood clots, you have to understand you have to keep your body moving. You can't just stay dormant, or else this could happen to you like it did to her and I. But anyways, that is it for Dos Mocos News through Dos Mocos Podcast. I am Nick. Thank you for watching. Good day and good night.